1. Backstory. About 20 years ago, I was a summer server at a restaurant in my hometown. Touristy town in the Thousand Islands of New York on the Canada border. The dining room was big, could accommodate about 300 people, plus a bar and lounge area that could seat about 70. On any given evening, we were full. I worked with 5 other servers and a bartender. Kitchen staff was a husband and wife team who normally kept up pretty well. Day in question. The owners had decided to start serving Sunday brunch buffet. That consisted of normally a pretty tame crowd, and the owners were too cheap to put more than one front of house staff on. So I was bartender, busser, server, and dishwasher, in addition to having to run food out to the buffet table as necessary. I could handle it most of the time and made good money. This particular Sunday we were busier than usual, and again I was on by myself. I have about 10 tables when the largest group of Canadians I have ever seen comes in, 24 of them. They're all keen on the buffet and lots of bloody Caesars and Marys. I have to put their table together and get their drinks while also seeing to my other customers. This is not fun, but I muster up my best hustle and do the best I can. I inform my chef, his wife isn't there, that he's got to get the lead out because we just got slammed. So far so good, even though I am sweating like a pig and mildly freaking. We somehow get through it and I ran my ass off for this party. All of my other tables left reasonably happy because they understood I was front of house by myself. The big party gets up to leave and says a hearty thank you on the way out. I am this whole time thinking about the huge tip I was going to get. Their bill came to about $400. When I get over to their now vacant table and start to clean it, they had paid with a credit card and didn't leave a tip on the slip. I figured they must have left cash, even if it was Canadian, no big deal, I could easily exchange it. I cleaned that entire table and there was nothing, not a dime. I just dissolved into tears, questioned my life choices, and cut through the kitchen to get a minute break out back. The owner said there was nothing he could do. His sister, who normally bartended, showed up as I was outside and wanted to know what happened. I told her. She pushed for autograt on parties of more than 6 after that. Just a shame I got screwed for that to happen. That's also the day I learned Canadians, at least back then, didn't tip because their servers are better compensated. 2. I work as a busboy at my grandfather's restaurant and get paid pretty well. A decent chunk of the money goes towards funding my TF2 addiction, although the job can be pretty frustrating at times. But my coworkers help make the job much more tolerable. This last week, my 4 to 11 weekend shift was about to come to a close. We had a few customers come in about 40 minutes before, which isn't too bad since they're often gone quickly. And I usually have to stay about 20 to 30 minutes afterwards anyway, cleaning up, restocking supplies and drinks, putting up chairs, etc. Also important to note that there is an outside in the back for customers to sit. There were about, say, 4 parties or 3 or less by about 10:45. All but one ready to leave. I was thinking, cool, I might get home a bit early tonight. So I did the restocking and cleaning up earlier than usual. I didn't put up chairs yet since we have to wait until the place is empty. And had my after-work meal. Now there were 2 ladies in the backyard that arrived about 40 minutes earlier, and they were getting pretty deep into their conversation. I didn't think much of it, I was sure they were going to leave soon. So about 15 minutes later I went to go check on them, and they didn't show any signs of leaving. I should say that they had a few drinks and were acting a little, well, let's just say unsophisticated. I also had several candles set up outside for them to keep away mosquitoes. And they requested I put one near their feet, which I was reluctant to do so, but complied anyway. Waitress staff waiting on them started getting annoyed since they weren't leaving and everyone else had left at this point. And they already had their check. And I think they paid at this point, but we were willing to wait. It was about 30 minutes after closing, and my managers were also getting concerned. But hey, you can't be rude to the customer, yeah? After another 10 minutes or so passed, one manager told the waitress they need to hurry up, which staff was reluctant to do. But she did it anyway. Another 10 minutes passed and they didn't move, so the managers went up and talked to them. I was too far to hear what they said. They still didn't leave. My managers let the waitress go home after a while. The other servers left too. Only staff left were the cooks, who stay long afterwards anyway, and they would have let me go too, but I stayed since a psychological urge to get a completion overrode any desire to go home after a long day. I was told to put the chairs up inside and out, as well as put out the candles. I put all except the ones near them so the ladies can take a hint. They didn't. I went out to put out the ones near the ladies, and they were finally ready to get going. It was about 12:20 at this point. I then saw something which worried me. They kicked over the candle I put next to their feet, and they didn't pick it up. I assumed they were too drunk to notice, and the wax spilled on the floor. Then they were like,
"It wasn't me, it was her!"
I told one of the managers, and he got a little upset, not angry, about me putting candles on the floor. I scrubbed that shit off the floor, did other errands, and got the hell out of there. How about you? 3. I'm no longer a server anymore, but a couple years back, I was a cocktail waitress at a fairly popular country bar in my area. It was known for its gigantic dance floor, free dance lessons, and ladies' night. No cover for girls. So it attracted a lot of people of all sorts from all over, most of which were great. I would work my shift from 6 p.m. to 2 a.m., and while it was a lot of work running around tracking down orders to tables, I was one of maybe 3 cocktail waitresses at the time, to a place that would have over 200 people at any given time. Generally, the people were great and my co-workers always made me laugh or smile. The regulars, even newcomers, tipped pretty well, and all in all I would walk out with a pretty decent amount in tips. Well, one lively Thursday night at around 11 p.m., a group of 3 women came in and sat in one of the booths near the dance floor. I greeted them swiftly, making quick conversation, asking how their night was going and so on. I asked the ladies, who were pretty amicable, if I could get them anything to eat or drink. I took down their drink and food orders and did a quick walk around the bar, briefly checking on my other 10 tables on my way back to enter in their order. Everything was going smoothly. I checked in with the ladies as I brought them their drinks, asking if they wanted anything. One of the women, T, told me she too was a server and that I was doing a great job. I thanked her. It felt good to be appreciated and asked if I could get them more drinks. They said yes, another round would be great. So I did another lap around the bar and entered in their second round. Everything went smoothly. My tables were all very easygoing and lively, and the 3 women got their food and the second round of drinks in a timely manner. As the dancing portion of the night picked up, I dropped the check at the table for the women at the booth, while they went off to go enjoy themselves on the dance floor. When I circled back around, I took the check, swiped their cards, and left the checkbook at their tables with everyone's card inside their respective checks. About 30 minutes later, I got a tap on the back from T demanding to know where her card was. Startled and taken aback by her sudden change in attitude, I told her that it was in the checkbook. Of course, she said it was not, and I had either lost it or stolen it. I was positive I had placed it in the checkbook, and I told her I would scour the bar just in case. T became irate, complaining about my sheer level of incompetence, and began yelling at me. At this point, I was on the verge of tears. Other bar patrons were looking at us now that T was making a scene. Someone must have got her manager while I was being verbally abused, because he came up behind me asking what the problem was. Now, my manager was a large gentleman, and if you didn't know him better, would definitely assume the guy eats bricks for breakfast, when in reality he's a gigantic teddy bear. Taken aback by his size, T, still at full volume but a bit calmer now, accused me of stealing her card. My manager A listened and told her that luckily the bar had security cameras, and that he'd be more than happy to let her come in the back and check out the footage. All 3 of us headed back and watched a grainy version of me interact with her table. Luckily, one of the security cameras was directly overhead T's table, so we were able to watch me not only drop the check at her table, but see her sign the damn receipt and drop her freaking card on the floor. T was mortified, and apologized profusely, saying that she honestly had thought I had stolen her card. She handed me $20 and apologized again, but A was having none of it, and told her that people who abuse his staff and make false accusations were not welcome at the bar, and escorted her and her friends, who were informed that she was no longer welcome and needed to be taken home, outside. Her friends looked livid and embarrassed, also apologizing for her horrible behavior. I made a lot in tips that night, but the best part was how good it felt knowing that my manager had my back. 4. I've been a sort of shift supervisor and waitress at a pizza and pub style place for about 3 years now. During this time I've become very close to a lot of the customers, and I know all of the regulars. Now I am not someone who gets annoyed easily, and I feel like I'm a relatively chill person. So it is pretty rare for me to find a customer that I absolutely cannot stand. But this interesting character takes the grand crown for me for a most annoying customer ever. Want to be rude to me? No problem, I'll kill you with kindness. Have an extremely difficult order? I don't mind at all. I know all the tricks and will make sure your order comes out perfectly, and if it doesn't, I'll get a remake for you immediately. Getting a little too rowdy? Probably no more beer for you, but try to get free food every time you come in. Not this time. So this lady, who I shall forever christen Free Pizza Lady, FPL, comes in about once a week or so, and my inner self groans in trepidation. Even my food service mess cringes a bit. Well, she revealed herself in the presence of our restaurant again the other day. To rewind for a second, let me explain exactly why she has this royal crown of frustration. Every time she comes in, FPL orders a medium pizza for herself. She always wants her pizza rolled extra thin, because she tells me she is on a strict diet. 'Cause just rolling the dough extra thin makes the bread magically disappear. But you do you, girl. Then she gets about 2 or 3 toppings, pretty much different each time she orders, and it's always to go. So I do my tippy taps on the computer and get her order in. All the while she is talking away about everyone. She has a mouth of a sailor and is very loud, and naturally doesn't care that she is on the family side of the restaurant with a bunch of kids running around, making everyone uncomfortable. Everything goes fine. Her pizza always comes out in 10 minutes. I bring it out to her, and her mastermind of a plan comes into full enactment. I show her the pizza, and lo and behold, we forgot a topping on her pizza that she clearly said she wanted. Our policy at our restaurant is that if we mess up your pizza, we remake it for you free of charge, and you can keep the mistake pizza. Not the greatest policy, but it makes the customer super happy, which makes me happy. So I'm not going to argue. So we always get her a remade pizza, which always makes FPL happy. It was fine the first few times. I always figured that I had blanked out for a few minutes and forgotten to add a topping that she wanted. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times, good luck. FPL came in again the other day. I was ready. She got her pizza, ordered 2 specific toppings and extra cheese. Perfect, no problem. But her master plan to get a free pizza was not happening today. I checked her order with her once, twice, a grand total of 3 times. She said it was perfect each time. I still knew she would try, though. Pizza comes out. She has been chatting the entire time. Her word of the day was bitch. But she was only using it to joke about herself, and no one else was around, so I ignored it. I show her the pizza like I always do, and what should happen? Why, there is no pepperoni. A 3rd topping that she never ordered is not on her pizza. How could this be? Looking expectantly at me, ready for her free pizza, I just smile and take the pizza back to the kitchen, letting her know that we will fix it right away. Her grin falters. The poor kitchen guys, believing that it was their fault, were very confused about the order. And this is where FPL finally failed to get her free pizza. I bring the pizza out to her, freshly cooked pepperoni, and a bit of extra cheese on her original pizza. Nothing was burnt. Pizza was perfectly thin. It looked amazing. But no extra pizza, not today. Looking annoyed, but without anything to complain about, FPL left without her expected free pizza. I made sure to let her know that we were super sorry for this mistake, and that I would take extra care to make sure her order would be correct next time. All sarcasm and story writing aside, I would have gladly gotten a remade pizza for her if it wasn't for the fact that she does this every single time she comes in. I cannot explain the frustration I feel for people who take advantage of others. And the way she talked about people and the name she calls our bartenders and other servers always upsets me. So I was happy to have one moment where I could kindly foil her plans. 5. The story I'm about to tell you is real. It just happened. And I don't know what to think. I feel like someone is messing with me. Yet I know that isn't the case. Encounter 1. It's 20 minutes before open. I'm here alone counting the cash and prepping the restaurant. I hear a knock at the door. It's a woman who is, well, a little out there. I know her, she's a semi-regular. She's also a self-proclaimed vegetarian who eats meat. This is important. She sees me and knocks again. I open the door and ask her what she needs. She wants a steak to go. She points out that she's vegetarian but still wants a steak. She lists off a series of polite demands, including us cutting her steak into pieces for her. I remind her that we're not open yet, but I tell her I will put in the order as soon as the chef arrives. I expect her to leave, but instead she enters. It's dark inside. I keep the lights off until open to avoid situations like this. I may work in service, but I detest unwelcome social interaction. While working, I can pretend to be social, but this lady took me off guard. I was not prepared for this. There's enough light inside to see that she's covered in paint. Her hands, her face, her clothing. She sees me staring and says, "I'm starving. I haven't eaten today. I've been painting my dead dog." What? I'm not sure I heard that right. I did. She tells me she wants to show me. Before I can say anything, she leaves. A few minutes later, she returns with 2 large paintings. Thank God there were paintings. She brings them inside and leans them up against a table. They're actually quite nice, but they're different. One is a flower with a small dog peeking out from behind it. The other is of the dog in a strange environment. She introduces me to her dog. I will keep his name to myself to protect his identity. I know she would want that. She gestures to the strange picture and tells me this is him on his home planet. Home planet. The land is red and barren, only a single leafless tree grows. And giant crystals jut out from the earth and tower over the landscape. This is where the spirit of her dog resides now, according to her. He's been there 2 years now, and painting him there makes her feel close. She begins to cry. I don't know what to do. She grabs a chair to steady herself and leaves a paint smudge on the wood. I tell her the paintings are lovely and ask for her phone number. I tell her I will call her when her food is ready. She takes the bait and leaves. Encounter 2. It's now 5 minutes after I should have been open. I rush to set up. The chef is late. When he arrives, I set him to work on her dinner. It's been all of 5 minutes and she returns. I inform her that her food will be a while. She says she just wants to pay. I hand her the debit machine and she asks me to do it for her because she sneezed in her hand earlier and didn't want to get the card even more covered in germs. The card I'm now holding. I go through the motions, I feel sick, she leaves. I rush to the sink and scrub my hands. I scrub them again. Encounter 3. Her food is ready. I call her. I call her again. No answer. 5 minutes later she arrives again, collects her food and leaves. I am awaiting her return. I can feel it. This story is not done. There's bound to be more. It'll probably be tonight. But if not, tomorrow for sure. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Spinning Plates number 60. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. I got a knock at the door while I was recording there, and rather glad I didn't just grab my robe and I actually threw proper clothes on before I went to open it, because I opened the door and there's a little girl there trying to give me Chinese food. So I just say, no, I didn't order any. What address are you looking for? And she gives my house number. And I said, well, could it have been such and such? Because the street I live on, if you'd misheard, you could easily take it to the wrong address. There could be a similar sounding. Well, okay. The houses in my street are numbered, but there's letters after them. Kind of like you'd get in a flat, really, in some cases. But they are houses. I said, well, could it have been this one? Because it's not my food, I'm not taking it, but, you try to be helpful. Then, which I don't approve of this, by the way. If your job is to deliver takeout food, do your job. Don't take your kid with you and send them to strangers' houses, because not everybody is as nice as I am. There's some very nasty poopers out there. Anyway, her dad, I'm assuming her dad, just calls her back to the car, and that was the end of that. But that seems to happen now and again, so I don't know if somebody, and I don't know why they would, because I don't really socialise much. I don't really socialise enough for people to get mad enough at me to want to troll me like that. So I don't know if someone has actually sent food to my door, deliberately, or they've just picked a random address, or if someone in my street is ordered and the person taking the order is actually just mistakenly wrote down the wrong number. Who knows? Anyway, with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.